From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay.
I'm Charles Denny. A new way to grow food using LED lights and even a shipping container. We'll step inside a fresh electric farm. That story from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville coming up on AgDay.
A reported legal shipment of hemp gets the attention of the New York Police Department, and not in a good way. And will the president roll back tariffs with China? The latest news on a possible trade deal that continues to impact markets.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffith. Stocks and commodities mixed to start the week, with soybeans dropping double digits at one point as traders look for clarity on where things stand on trade talks between the U.S. and China. And President Trump continuing his stance, saying he has not agreed to roll back U.S. tariffs sought by China. He's telling reporters how China would like to receive some type of a rollback, but not a complete rollback because, quote, they know I won't do it, end quote. Analysts say a rollback will support prices.
If we don't have the tariff rollback or something else that causes product to move, we're going to continue to have depressed markets for soybeans and a variety of other commodities.
Reports say officials differ on how to deal with the Chinese. National Economic Council Director Larry Kudlow telling Bloomberg any phase one deal would include tariff agreements and concessions, but Peter Navarro, a White House trade advisor who opposes any concessions, slammed the media for reporting comments in line with the views of Kudlow. But President Trump says if a signing ceremony with Chinese leader Xi Jinping does take place, he would like it to be held in the U.S. He has suggested that Iowa or somewhere in farm country would be preferable. Still, the president continues to say an agreement was not a sure thing and insisted, as he had before, that China was more interested in a deal than he was. The federal government is officially announcing $800 million in aid to farmers in 4 southern states hit by hurricanes Michael and Florence last year. This is all part of a $3 billion disaster relief package authorized by Congress we've been telling you about. Now, Florida will get about $380 million of that. Georgia, Alabama, and North Carolina also getting some relief. A reported legal shipment of industrial hemp was recently seized by the New York Police Department. Take a look. Police sharing this picture on Twitter. They were alerted by a FedEx employee. You see here more than 100 pounds of plants that officers thought were marijuana. Now, they had come from Fox Holler Farms in Wilson, Vermont. A lawyer for the farm says initially FedEx called police in Vermont. Police checked the packages and saw the certificates of analysis and said, no problem, and gave it back to FedEx. But the lawyer says despite those certificates that showed the hemp fell well below the legal limit for THC, the NYPD seized the hemp and arrested a shop owner who came to collect the shipment. Now, he was released over the weekend without bail. The plant's still at a police lab for testing. Now, you can learn more about industrial hemp this week at Farm Journal's next Hemp College. A session is taking place tomorrow in Las Vegas, but there are others coming up in Indianapolis and January in Chicago. Find more details at agweb.com/events. Snow and ongoing cold may be bringing an end to harvest 2019 in many places. Meteorologist Kimberly Newman joins us with today's comments. Kimberly.
And we know it has been a busy few days in farm country as farmers race to beat the weather and bring in what they can. But we've been treated to some beautiful sunsets along the way. Devin Panzier of Jefferson County, Illinois, snapping this gorgeous photo. A truly beautiful end to a very busy day. Meanwhile, if we take a look at those snowfall estimates across the region, the Great Lakes certainly the area where the most snow has fallen. This will move farther out to the east, and for the most part, we've got better weather for the end of that harvesting season. I'll have more on your full forecast coming up in just a bit. Now here are some hometown temps.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
Checking on ag news from around the world, former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is out of prison. Now, he was released from prison Friday after the Supreme Court ruled a person can be imprisoned only after all appeals to higher courts have been exhausted. He is still appealing his conviction related to the alleged purchase of a beachfront apartment. Da Silva helping to make Brazil into a leading and competitive ag state, even winning the World Food Prize back in 2011. And the persimmon harvest is underway in the country of Georgia. Garlands of them are now hanging from homes. Dried persimmon is one of the most loved treats at the New Year table of the former Soviet Republic. For many families in this area, this dried fruit is the main income in the winter. But getting to this point is hard work. Hundreds of pounds of persimmons are peeled every day in the villages. They are then threaded on string to create a garland. All of the work done by hand. And then farmers are forced to wait on the weather. The fruit needs up to 15 days to dry, turning from bright orange to brown. And if it rains, there's a chance the fruit will rot. This year, 2 pounds of dried persimmon sells for about $1.20 here in the U.S. Coming up, following a tough planting and harvesting season, will we still have enough of a corn crop? Some analysis on that. And later, taking the weather factor out of the growing season. See what these students are growing under the lights.
Ag Day, brought to you by Bear Plus Rewards. Sign in and start earning at mybearplus.com.
Soybean prices fell again on Monday as many feared a trade deal with China may not be completed as soon as expected. Here's more from Lasimi.
Today in the grain market, soybeans did fall. That trade deal comments really weighed on futures. The president says no to dropping of the tariffs, and I guess we're going to have to wait till December 15th. That date is just looming because that will be the next day that they're going to implement even more tariffs. So can we have a trade deal before then? It's possible, but it's really challenging to look at it right now. The futures did break out on the downside, and traders are now focusing on what's happening in Brazil, and that looks like it's going to add some bearish pressure onto the market. Today being a holiday, it's a little bit more thin. Volume is slower, so it's possible that this is just a sideline to the market, and tomorrow we'll have more people participating, but we're going to watch that one closely. Corn was lower today. Weak demand is just adding to the downtrend right now. Also, ethanol consumption is also on the downside, and these 2 points are really making it nearly impossible for the market to rise. Cattle was mixed. China did approve Argentina for beef shipments, and that means the slaughterhouses there, they're going to start taking shipments. Non-commercial traders are getting into the market too. They're pushing this rally higher. Dare I say that the new talk is that the trend is going to be staying intact to the end of the year.
A wet spring, a late harvest, a trade war. What does it all mean for this year's corn crop? Tyne Morgan has this analysis from our Kansas City studio.
Here now with Tommy Grisafi of Advanced Trading. Tommy, we'll continue to get reports from USDA talking about this crop size, but what we know right now is harvest continues to progress at a very slow pace. It looks like we're not running out of corn.
We're not running out of corn, and we could have. I mean, we really could have had a problem, but the American farmer kept planting. The price said keep planting. Crop insurance said stop planting, but that doesn't mean the farmer has to. So there's a lot of people watching this show now who know they went beyond their plant dates. And when farmers complain that, oh, the prices should have went up, and you ask them what's the last day you planted corn, you're like, you helped it not go up. You're so good at what you do and so motivated that you helped cap that corn's going up. And so price motivates people to keep planting, drink a Red Bull, go through the night. And then you tie on horrible demand to that in corn and the problems in the ethanol industry, and you're like, wow, we really had a chance to rally the market, and we didn't.
Yeah, what has been the biggest detriment to corn prices this year, do you feel?
A couple things. Big South American crop, horrible demand here, and just policy that's not favorable to the ethanol industry.
So what has to change? What do you want to see then to really change the mood and the dynamics of the corn market that we see right now?
What I want to see and what the farmer wants to see is something different. The farmer wants to hear that the market's going to go up. I want the farmer to imagine that they're going to grow big bushels every year. They're going to capture carries. They're going to not hold their product so long. They're going to sell their product faster, quit paying interest rates. That's what I want. I want the mechanics in the business of farming to be executed. The farmer wants to watch this show and hear Tommy and Tyne said markets will go up. I know when we say things like that or insinuate that they could go up, if we insinuate they could go up, they hear the market's going to go up, do nothing. I want you to do something. I want you to have a plan and execute it, and that's not as easy to do as it sounds.
You know, Tommy, I know you've been in North Dakota. You've been in some of these areas where harvest is going really slow, and you're saying harvest could last until next spring possibly in places. But at the same time, that's not impacting the markets.
It will. So right now we have the gut slot of harvest, and there's going to be the most bushels around that there's going to be for months. And every month that goes by, there'll be less and less bushels. Watch for May and July time slot. If we truly had a production problem, we're going to see it there. If demand picked up, we had a production problem. South America has a problem, we could become explosive again. But you can't live your life year to year saying there's a chance we can go up. There's also a chance that we could go down. And the government's given $14 to $16 billion a year to the American farmer, not because prices are so high and we're making too much money. So we're being subsidized by the government. That's not what the farmer wants to hear, to overproduce bushels that in some cases we have horrible demand for.
All right, Tommy, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on Ag Day.
Interested in spending a day with a trader? Call Tommy Grisafi at 800-664-4383. Let the proven performance of Prosaro fungicide maximize your grain quality, yield, and profit this season.
Well, Kimberly, one thing that we've seen is it's just been so cold to start this week. Any chance that gets pushed out anytime soon?
Okay, well, the farmers are out finishing up the harvest. It is going to remain cold, but if we look ahead to the end of this month, that's where we finally feel a little warmer. If we take a look at the jet stream, this really tells a story of how the airflow is moving and most importantly, where the warmth is going to be coming from. For now, we are still under the influence of this cooler blast of air coming in from Canada that'll continue to swing down through the Great Lakes, affecting us into the end of this week. Warmer weather is expected down into the southeast and the southwest, so certainly warmer conditions there, but warmer than average? Probably not. As we move forward here into the upcoming weekend, you'll see this cold air mass finally swings out. We undergo more of a zonal flow pattern before a strong trough begins to develop here right along the Rockies and getting into the plain states, where I believe we could fire up a couple of showers and thunderstorms. Believe it or not, another cold air mass is likely for early next week. That's all before the warmer air from the west coast finally pushes over and impacts folks on the east coast, bringing the warm air to folks who are hoping to see those temperatures climb. Meanwhile, rainfall totals are pretty minimal. We're not looking at any major numbers really spiking over the next couple of days. Instead, a little bit of snow for the far eastern seaboard all the way up into the northeast is what we'll see the most in terms of moisture moving forward. The focus is really on the temperatures. And the nice news here is that we've got these two high pressure systems working in tandem with one another and really bringing some pleasant weather through the midsection of the United States as we get through the end of this week. Tuesday evening, we've got a nice high pressure system overhead, and that's going to be moving just out of Texas into Arkansas, Louisiana, bringing you beautiful weather, clear skies, dry conditions, and the low pressure system setting up here for the northwest, but that really doesn't bring huge impacts other than a little bit of snow and cooler temperatures. Meanwhile, the high pressure systems stay right there, moving just a little bit over that 12-hour period. We continue to move forward here, and rain showers will track farther off the coast. Meanwhile, temperatures are incredibly cold. Not only that, we need to worry about that wind chill with some numbers on the map below zero. That's a look at what's happening across the country. Here's a look at what's happening in your neck of the woods. Widespread haze in Lindsay, California, with calm winds and a high of 80 degrees. Austin, Texas, strong winds and mostly sunny. Nantucket, patchy fog and rain and wind.
Ben and Jerry's and happy cows, why one man is suing over the slogan. Plus what the USDA is saying about milk prices. Next.
What do you call someone who does dozens of jobs? A farmer. At Pioneer, we're proud to work with generations of American farmers in the most complex and rewarding industry on earth. So from your friends at Pioneer, thank you, farmers.
USDA is not changing its price forecast for all milk. In the November WASDE report, USDA leaving the 2020 all milk price forecast the same at $18.85 per hundredweight. Now that's despite raising milk production estimates for both 2019 and 2020 from the previous month. Some Class 3 milk prices are trading between the $17 to $20 range currently.
Hopefully we can sustain that through the winter and spring months so we don't have the catastrophe of the dairymen going out of business and milk prices being so low that they can start to pay their bills. But just like it was long going into it, it's going to be long coming out of it. So those milk prices need to be able to keep going in the right direction.
USDA lowered the fat basis export forecast for 2020 as higher domestic cheese prices are expected to affect the competitiveness of U.S. cheese in international markets. Ben & Jerry's is facing a lawsuit accusing the company of false advertising because it says the milk and cream in its products comes from happy cows. The complaint was filed in federal court in Burlington, Vermont. That's where Ben & Jerry's was founded. Environmental advocate James Ehlers accuses the company and Unilever of deceiving consumers. He claims many of the farms that produce the milk and cream are factory-style mass production dairy operations. Now, a Ben & Jerry's spokesman says while the company doesn't comment on pending lawsuits, he says it's proud of the work it's done with Vermont family farmers and is committed to building a resilient, regenerative dairy supply. You no longer need the sun to grow crops. On this cold day, we take you inside for a look at what's growing under the lights.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Check out this new leafy greens farm. No, it's not in California and Arizona. This farm is in Baltimore, and it's all indoors. Artificial light is used along with automated technology to make the plants grow. This warehouse was created by the New York-based company called Bowery. The company grows all its greens without pesticides in big warehouses. Right now, it's the largest indoor farming operation. The University of Tennessee's Institute of Agriculture is also getting in on the act. It's teaming with several utility and energy agencies for an experimental way to grow nutritious crops inside a new facility. Charles Denny shows us futuristic farming that's energy efficient.
The farming of the future will likely involve growing more food for more people on fewer acres and with reduced resources. Here's a peek at what may be coming, what's called a fresh electric farm housed at the UT Institute of Agriculture. Inside this large shipping container, kale is birthed from seedlings, then grown in tall columns.
We will be documenting the quality, the nutritional quality, and the yield of the food that we can produce in that facility.
UTIA plant physiologist Carl Sams says the fresh electric farm has been in the planning stages about 3 years. Here was the pod being moved into place sometime back. Now that kale production is on, the food grown here will be donated to Knoxville's Second Harvest Food Bank. Productivity really cranks up when ordinary regular illumination is shut off. 80% red, 20 blue, no purple rain here, just lights. The plants are hit with light and heat from energy-efficient LEDs, which generates accelerated growth.
The heat source for the plants will be the heat radiating off of the lights and the other motors and pumps and so forth in there. So there's no outside heating other than what's heated to generate to grow the plants.
There are multiple partners involved in this project with UTIA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, Knoxville Utilities Board, and EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute. All these agencies specialize in the use and conservation of energy, key to successful electric farming. The partners came together recently to open the fresh electric farm on the UT Ag campus.
And so indoor agriculture gives us that ability to try new ways to grow food, to produce vegetables and other types of crops.
Sustainability researcher Morgan Scott says this project perfectly fits EPRI's goal of producing food while reducing the strain on the environment or depleting our energy sources.
The average head of lettuce travels 2,000 miles to get to the store shelf. That's not an insignificant carbon footprint. So if we can move that production locally, create local jobs, and have environmental benefits, that's a truly sustainable solution.
The hope is to see more facilities like the Fresh Electric Farm around the country. Agriculture's future will likely include more time and production spent indoors. Meantime, here, the kale will grow, data will be collected, and energy will be used wisely. This is Charles Denny reporting.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spend part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.